Welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Military Life. I am joined by Miss Shannon Elliott, who is a military spouse and a veteran herself who is serving relocating military families who are heading to Buckley Air Force Base. So Shannon, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Now Space Force Base. Some people don't even
Oh
know.
my God.
No, you
We're
know what? Some people
we're
don't
not
even know
even
it's
editing it.
real. No, yeah. I still
Oh
get
my,
people saying, "Is that real?"
yeah, it is wild. We're gonna not edit that because
It's perfect.
it's real. It's
Hmm.
real. You know what? If I get it wrong, I'm sure anyone who's stationed there has to correct people all the time, just like you did. So,
Yeah, it's a new thing.
it is a new thing, a new exciting thing. And you were on the ground floor of it. So I'm excited to talk to you today because Colorado is a beast in and of itself for any military family going. And Buckley seems to pose very specific issues in terms of housing for our military families. So I was hoping we could get kind of an idea of what you're seeing boots on the ground and also kind of how we're advising our families to plan in advance so they can get the support they need so they don't end up homeless. So can you kind of give me an idea? You PCS to Buckley after 4 PCSs. You headed there and you've been there for a while. So what was it like when you first PCS there?
So I PCSed here in 2006, so before the recession, and the market was booming. And I moved from San Antonio, so we sold our house for 120,000. We moved to Denver, and houses are 400,000. The difference was dramatic, and especially for me being an E3, my husband just getting out of the military, having a young baby. I'm like, how are we going to afford, getting a house we wanted to buy? We knew we wanted to buy. But we were like, we cannot afford a house. So of course we got a little tiny apartment instead, which was $900 a month. And that I thought, I'm not going to survive. I won't be able to eat. It was
Yeah,
felt like a lot of money. And now that same apartment probably goes 25, 2,800.
that's just absolutely wild. I mean, obviously that was a while ago,
Yeah.
right? But just the change that we've seen in some of these markets, specifically in Colorado and California, has really been exponentially larger than bases elsewhere, right? So what do military families experiencing right now? Like what does the rents look like compared to base costs? Or what do the rents look like compared to BAH right now?
So let's see. I think it's about 2,500 for, let's just say, an E5. Now, do they have kids? Let's assume they have two kids and they want a 3, 4 bedroom house. That's going to probably be about 3,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking at two, three, four, $500 above BAH right now. Okay, so tell me this because the numbers are justified somewhere, and I have a permanent gripe with who's setting the BAH numbers nationwide. I think that some people have just because it's so base specific, that we need a review system, we need an audit system, we need something else, we need some sort of secondary system because to me the BAH rates no longer reflect what it actually costs to live in relation to housing. And I know everyone will say it's only supposed to be 95%, it's not supposed to cover. It doesn't even hit 95%, guys. We can do the percent on the number Shannon just gave us. It's not even close, right? So what is the kind of general feeling of people when they find out, hey, you have a $2,500 BAH, but like the average house that you're looking at is going to be $3,000 a month?
So I'm actually working with someone coming in and he wanted to buy and then he decided I can't afford that, so I'm going to rent. Now he can't find housing in his BAH. So what he's doing is moving down an hour south so that it's cheaper. Now, is he making up the difference with gas? Like, but that's what you have to do. You got to go to the outskirts of town and have a commute instead to at
Yeah.
least be within your BAH range or be comfortable.
So that's a great question. So what is kind of the average commute time for someone then? Is it just getting further and further out? And because that has a massive impact on quality of life for the for station there.
Well, I want to say the one thing where Buckley is, we're in a town called Aurora. It's centered in Aurora, Colorado. And that has a stigma. That name has a stigma to it. And all of Aurora is not bad. There's beautiful parts to it and there's safe neighborhoods. But what happens is because that stigma, then people don't want to live there. They just immediately X out Aurora. Like, nope, not living there. And that's, I think, the one thing I'd like to clear up if anyone is listening. Aurora is not bad. And there are cheaper options in Aurora instead of a little bit outside where you have the higher end towns, Parker, Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch. Those are where people really are like, that's where I want to live. That's where everyone says to go live. But Aurora is okay too. But you have other areas that are further, probably 45-minute commutes. Bennett, Strasburg, Thornton, Greeley might be a little too far, but I mean, people will do it, right? If it's
Yeah.
comfortable for their budget, their wallet.
I have a stupid Space Force question.
Uh-oh.
I'm embarrassed to ask it, but I just thought to myself, because when you said that, I was like, well, look, if I'm coming and I know that my husband in 9 months is deploying, and so really it's not going to impact me that much because he's going to be gone, and then it's only like 18 months when he's going to be doing that commute. It's not a full 3 years or whatever. And I thought to myself, where does the Space Force deploy to?
So Space Force comes from space-based infrared. So basically, we have these big balls, which are Buckley's known
I
for,
feel
right?
even stupider now. Keep going. Yes, this is wonderful. This is very
They're
helpful.
antennas, right? Looking at the satellites,
Mhm.
monitoring our world. They're monitoring what's happening. Is there any heat sensing happening, right? So that community deploys in place. We are deployed pretty much. I say we, I'm not part of that, but I did work in that mission for a while.
Mhm.
They deploy in place because they do this 24/7, 365 days. They're essentially
Okay.
always watching for those people who are forward deployed, giving them real-time data.
Okay.
So yeah,
And when you say forward deployed, what does that mean?
overseas. Yeah.
Do
I think it's so
you
nuanced and I
think that
think there's
people who are
so much
signing,
to it. Did you know that we also manage GPS? Like where
no, I had no
how you
idea.
map places
Yeah.
out of Colorado Springs? There's a whole unit that handles the satellites to do the GPS. That's what I think they're called, GPS.
So there was some big news this week that Space, the recruiting numbers in the last 4 months, they've hit their numbers already for the year. Do you think people know what they signed up for then?
I do because I think a lot of these people are transferring from the Air Force,
Mhm.
yeah,
And they count those as new recruits?
I would think
I'd
so.
be
Yeah,
pissed if I
because
was
it's
Air
a
Force. Like, you
new,
can't count my recruit as your recruit.
yeah,
You just stole my
we're double
number.
dipping here, right? Well,
Yeah.
Air Force is losing and Space Force is gaining.
Interesting. Okay, let's get
Yeah,
back
I could
to
be wrong.
life in Aurora. So that's three options when they PCS, right? They can live on base, they can rent a home, or they can potentially buy a home. So talk to me a little bit about what base housing looks like in at Buckley.
Base housing is a very traditional, newer build because they were built in early 2000s and they're townhomes and there's different floor plans, and it's based on your rank. Are you going to get the smaller units or the bigger units? But what I lived there for a year and what I loved about it, especially having a new family, is feeling safe, feeling like a community. I didn't have a commute. I could just let my kid, there was a park behind my little townhome, so I could literally just let the kids go play, and drop my kid at daycare right down the road. It was very convenient. But the one thing about Buckley is that there is not a lot to do. We don't have bowling alleys, we don't have movie theaters, we don't have a club. There's a little restaurant, but there's nothing. So a lot of people don't want to live on base.
So it's like almost like isolation. So
It
people want to
is.
be out more in town. How long from actual base, how long does it take to get to town, where a town where there's things to do?
Well, right now it's so built up. I mean, Denver is really where you're going to do anything. So that's probably 35-minute commute.
Yeah.
But Denver has changed so much, a lot of people don't even want to do that.
Okay, so let's talk about living near base then. When you say there's not a lot to do, my immediate thought goes to food because, I'm a foodie. Is it all chain restaurants? Are we talking mom and pops? Like, Colorado has a certain vibe. So like, do you get that vibe at Buckley or is it very like chain restaurants?
Yeah, you'd be sadly disappointed. There is a few mom and pop shops, but I think we are chain dominated, Chili's, that kind of thing. But around base, there are a lot of mom and pop shops, and if you give them a try, like they're worth it. They're really good.
What is your favorite thing about living near Buckley?
Well, Buckley specifically or Colorado?
Both. Hit me with both of them.
I think,
People who are going there, we gotta get something excited for them to be like, oh, but you get this, right?
yeah. Well, what I love about Colorado in general is there's 4 seasons. There's no humidity. There's no bugs. I mean, there are bugs, but not like I'm sure in Tennessee or Texas
Yeah,
or
you
the
can't be in
South,
Texas.
pretty much, right? People are very scared of how cold it's going to be here, but what they don't realize is there's no humidity here or lack of humidity, that cold is a lot warmer than if you're in Florida and it gets cold because that humidity really brings up the feeling of being cold. So it could be 40 here and I'll be in flip-flops.
So it's like
It,
one of those situations where it's like 40, but it feels like 55 because there's no humidity.
because the one thing we have here is that we're known for 300 days of sunshine. Is typically shining, and that sun is hot because also we're the Mile High City. We're a mile above sea level, so we're closer to the sun.
I don't know if I would survive there. get like what's it called? Altitude sickness.
Oh yeah.
I've only been to Denver once. I definitely was impacted by it. I don't know how I would do that. And I also had a girlfriend who was stationed there, and she really struggled. Like she had breathing issues, and then ultimately they had to get stationed elsewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about, so we talked about military housing. What about renting in town? Like what should people be prepared for in terms of like deposit, in terms of monthly basis, in terms of pets, in terms of like landlord standards and what they can demand because there's so many military families coming.
Yeah, so we have a lot, we are very tenant friendly in Colorado, Denver area. They pretty much put a lot of stipulations. You can't charge more than X amount for security deposits. You can't ask for double amount. It has to be at least the rent or less. So
Okay, that's
they
wonderful.
yeah, they really can't gouge you too much, but the problem is because the supply and demand, and if you can't afford to buy, I can raise up the rent because what is your other option? And that's just in general. I mean, if you're military, lucky for us, we have base housing as an option.
Right.
But I would say it's I don't want to say it's fair because it is very overpriced, I think, compared to what I'm seeing across the nation and other people's rental
Basis, yeah.
prices. Yeah.
Well, then why would someone buy at Buckley? I mean, why does someone make that decision?
I think thing is we know that in Denver, you're going to get equity for the long game. Like
Mhm.
people are going to constantly want to live in Colorado. It's beautiful here. Like I said, the weather, I feel like you will get an ROI on your investment if you can play the long game because as we know, real estate is ebbs and
Yeah.
flows.
So people who are potentially willing to be landlords when they leave.
Yes.
Yeah. And are you seeing people who are stationed there for typically 2 or 3 years, or do they have longer stays because there's less Space Force bases out there?
I think because there's less Space Force bases, and if they are tied to that mission, they stay a little longer.
Well, that's nice. So people are able to kind of put roots down, which does make potentially buying a house make more sense.
Yes. The other community we have, though, is Air National Guard, Air Force Reserve. That's a huge, because we started as a guard base,
Mhm.
Buckley did. So we have a huge community of that. So they are definitely, for me, that's what happened. I crossed to the guard and I found positions to stay here.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to leave. So you'll see that too. People, they root, they, what do you say, root down here? I don't know how you say that.
If you had a piece of advice for someone who comes, in the next 6 months, like what should they be doing right now to prepare themselves for that move in terms of housing planning?
I think the one thing is really understanding the areas. If it's schools that are important to you, figuring out what is important to you. Is it schools? Is it your commute? Is it your family time that you want to sacrifice or not sacrifice? Cost of living. And then what does your weekend life look like or your nightlife look like? Do you want to be around where there's events or easy access to grocery stores because you don't want to use the base?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
This is where you would plug the PCS plan.
Oh.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that now. And the best way to do that would be
The best way to do.
the best way to get all access to all that information. Because I mean, as of right now, like
Oh.
in my opinion, AI is awful, right? So everything that you get online is so unreliable at this point. I mean, what is the best way for people to get access to that information? Like what?
Yeah, I think, the one thing is everyone has opinions, right? So I feel like the PCS plan that we give to our members that enter into our PIF group and we sit down and talk to them, they're getting a person who's been here for 20 years. They're not jaded. They love the area and they're getting an honest assessment of the area. They're not getting sugar-coated information. So PCS plan for me allows me to get ahead so they understand the area and they can come prepared all the way up to what you were saying, the altitude sickness,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's a big deal. So understanding cost of living, understanding areas that they may not have looked at, but now they will because they understand it's not as bad as people say it is. Do
That's bad.
you want me to
Okay.
re-say that? Let me know.
Maybe you could give me like a better
Who wasn't
closing
prepared?
line. Like a better closing line of like, yeah, there's a lot of generic information out there and like it's overwhelming to people. So like really it's about knowing your situation, your kids, your family, your commute, right? And that we
Yes.
do that through a PCS plan.
When I PCSed here in 2006, I did not have Google. I didn't have a person. And so I take all the information I hear and understand. And I love the PCS plan because it gives people all the resources and tools they need to be prepared to move here because there's so much to that.
I'm seeing how confident we are speaking to the value of the PCS plan. Do you think the PCS plan is valuable?
I think I just need to get in front of someone, you
What do
know?
you think a PCS plan is?
Well, it's to prepare someone,
But
right?
puts you in front of someone. So
Yeah,
why is
right.
it valuable for you
Yeah.
um, to be in front of them?
Well, and on. Okay, this is honest. There are so
Hmm.
many people out there that don't care about you as an individual, but I have like I did 20 years in the military. I have always cared about people without I don't need to gain something from it, right? And that's why I want to get in front of people and I like the PCS plan because I'm getting in front of them and then I can have a conversation with them and they can see that I'm being genuine and honest and preparing them for what could be the worst or for the best, but trying to make it as streamlined as possible. So for
Absolutely.
me, I want them to be prepared.
When you PCS to Buckley, looking back now, do you wish that you had someone like you to give you a PCS plan? Someone who had been served for 20 years or lived in the area for 20 years, who, was invested in the success of your family in the same way that you're invested in the success of our members' families?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
do.
think that's like full circle, right? If the whole point of Pay It Forward is how can we create the support for other people that we never got when we went.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Like what is a typical person who's heading to Buckley? Like what are their personal obstacles that they're overcoming? Is it schools? Is it pets? Is it commute time? Kind of what does the average person really struggle with there?
I think the biggest struggle is wanting a decent commute, but also decent rent prices, or if they want to purchase a decent purchase price, right? Marrying those two together, because if you do have to go to the outskirts, right? Are you sacrificing? Is it worth it?
Are sellers helping pay down closing costs right now? Like are you guys getting buy down rates or closing costs covered? What does it look like when someone's writing an offer on a home?
Yes, so typically you're going to see a good amount of seller concessions and reduced prices. It's pretty tough out there for sellers.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about that. So if someone is selling their home, why is that? What's happening in terms of, our military families who are trying to sell their homes when they leave?
I think some of the military families who purchased in 2021, I would say the top of the where the market started declining, their equity, they lost a lot of equity. And if they don't want to be a landlord, then they're either paying out of pocket, short selling. I've had to do two short sales. I've had one client who had to give it back to the bank because they couldn't rent it or sell it, which was really kind of sad.
But is that creating an opportunity for buyers who are heading there?
I think absolutely. Yeah, I feel like you're getting houses probably at the value they should have been if we had a normal appreciation rate, from 2019. Like we're finally getting back to those prices. I think people want to see these 2008 prices, but that's not going to happen because,
Yeah, we don't live in that world anymore.
yeah.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today. If you are heading to Buckley Space Force Base, you need help finding housing, do the PCS plan, get that personalized support that you need, whether you're looking to buy, rent, or live on base housing. Shannon is there to support you. So, Shannon, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.